Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. This week I have an email from a woman who says, I really enjoy your podcasts. Thank you very much. And this is something I've been thinking about for a while. In my dating life, I meet many men who seem to have issues. I've dated guys who I thought drank too much, guys who were very cheap, guys who didn't work very much, those only interested in casual dating or sex, men with emotional problems, wimpy guys. You get the idea. Yes, I certainly do. For example, I dated one man who was cheap and drank heavily on our few dates, but now he's in a serious relationship. He seemed great in so many other ways, so I wonder if I was too hasty. My question is, am I being too picky? I know that no one is perfect, but how do you judge when a problem is insurmountable? So before I answer your question, I just want to say that I'm going to be using a lot of quotes in my answer here, and most of them are from Instagram, and they just seem to fit this theme, so don't judge. Now, you wonder if you were too hasty with this guy. But for some women, a guy who's cheap and drinks heavily is actually a step up. So just because someone is in a relationship, it doesn't mean they're relationship material or that it's a great relationship. It just means that someone is willing to date him. There's someone for everyone. Maybe she's also cheap and drinks heavily, so therefore it's a perfect match. So I don't think you're being too picky. All those things you mentioned, most women don't want to go out with guys who don't work very much or are just interested in casual dating or sex, or guys with emotional problems, or wimpy guys as you call them, etc., etc. I don't think that you are being too picky. It's about having standards, and you don't lower them just because you haven't found the one. You have to decide what are your deal breakers. And for a lot of women, as I said, someone who's cheap or drinks heavily is going to be a deal breaker. But obviously for some women, it's not. Now, if you had said to me, well, I need to date a guy who's at least 6 foot tall, I'd say, well, can you come down a little in height? Will you at least go down to 5'10"? In that case, you'd be being too picky. Or if you said, well, the guy has to make at least $250,000 a year, I'd say, well, a very small percentage of the population makes that. So can you come down a bit? See, that is being too picky. But otherwise, all those things you mentioned, no. And also, the more that you feel you have to offer and the higher your self-esteem, the less shenanigans you'll put up with. That's why you've probably seen the quote, I know what I bring to the table, so trust me when I say I'm not afraid to eat alone. That's what it means. It's like they're not going to lower their standards. They'd rather be alone rather than having to put up with any of the things you mentioned. And a lot of people will say, oh, well, you're going to end up alone if you're too picky, to which you can always respond, and you're going to end up divorced if you're not picky enough, because all it takes is just one guy, but it has to be the right guy. So continue on doing what you do. It's just a matter of meeting the right guy. You're not being too picky, and you're saving yourself a lot of heartache, because I think of all the guys that I've dated, if I had been pickier, most of them, looking back now, I would not have dated. But I didn't really have a criteria. The only criteria I had was that I had to be attracted to them. And that was pretty much it. And as long as I was attracted to them and they were interested in me, boom, that was it. But then as you get older and you go through these breakups, then you realize, okay, that wasn't a very good idea. Why did I date that guy? What did I see in him? And then the older you get, the pickier actually you become, if you haven't been picky enough when you were younger. Because now you've been down that road before, and you know it's not going to lead to anything good. So I think it's better to be pickier when you're younger, and that way you'll find someone sooner, even though it might take you a little longer, rather than not being picky at all, dating the wrong guys for years, and then you get to a certain age and then you're really picky, and then it's even more difficult to find someone. So be picky now, and I have one more quote, and that is, be as picky with your men or women as you are with your selfies. And we all know how picky we are with our selfies now, don't we? So if you would like more information about this, or you have a question or a comment, please contact me at my website, theartoflove.net. Be sure to use the contact form on that website. Do not contact me directly via an email that you might find somewhere, because I may go in the spam folder and then I will never see your email. If you're listening to this on iTunes, I would really appreciate it if you would rate and review the podcast. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.